when you walk up to the vehicle with the key, it has the full proximity key system because it'll allow you access to the vehicle just by sensing it. So it knows the key's here, but it doesn't turn on anything. It doesn't sense the key and then start turning approach lights or interior lights or any kind of lights whatsoever. Now when we hit the unlock button, we do now have interior lights and exterior lights. This is a good safety feature. So you do have the ability to switch off the headlights. You can go completely dark and all the exterior lights are on the outside are off, and you can move the vehicle. Now I have the parking lights on, and the parking lights are basically just this accent light here, LED strip. Looking pretty cool, but not super bright. Not bright at all actually, but you can see it. And then there is an amber side marker here in the front. There's a red side marker here in the back, along with the red tail lights. You see those from the side and the back. The tag light is now on. The turn signal here in the front is basically that white light that we saw before, except for a little bit brighter and amber in color. Not super bright, really not bright at all. It's visible, but it's not like super bright. Now there is an amber turn signal indicator here on the side mirror. Once again, not very bright. About the same level of brightness as the one in the front. You can see it from the front, the side, and the back. And then the turn signal here in the back is once again an LED amber turn signal. And it's bright enough. It's much brighter here in the back, but not like super overly bright. And you can see it's kind of right there in the center of the tail light area. So you can see that accent light leaves zero light in front of you, so you're not going to mistake those as headlights. So let's go ahead and turn the low beams on here, and we're going to look at them going down the road. But the low beams are basically one projector headlight. So it's just a focused projector housing here. And so that's what it looks like there. So those accent lights are there in the center. And then you have the projectors, and then of course the amber side markers. And that's it here in the front as far as lights. Now the cutoff, let me step back a little bit here. The cutoff for the low beams are right about 2.5 feet off the ground. So you can see as I'm up high here, just normal level, about sort of, this is about 6 feet. 6 feet's about right there. There's 5, 4, all that area there. There's hardly any brightness whatsoever. I can look directly at the lights, no problem. It's only when I go down here, very low. So that's the cutoff. A lot of people confuse headlights that are blinding other people as, you know, they're because they're LEDs or something like that. It's not the technology, it's the aim of the headlights. So if the headlights aren't aimed properly, or if somebody has high beams going down the road, then it's going to blind you. Other than that, if they're working properly, most vehicles will not blind you. Modern vehicles will focus the brightness, focus the beam in an area below where your eyes are when you're driving. Now let's switch to the high beams. And the high beams are the exact same projector. So we have the same projector headlight. It's just now it's refocused to include the high beams. So not a lot of additional light up here. We don't have any additional light that turns on. We just have a single projector for your low and your high beams. The cargo light, it actually has 2 lights. One under here, like an over-the-shoulder type light, which is good. And then we have here on the left side a single light. But you'll notice there's a little bit of an issue with this. There's 2 lights, they're both on the same side. So basically this area is actually pretty good. You got a light here and you got a light over your shoulder illuminating this area. This area not so much. Little pocket there is kind of, could be a little bit better. But this whole area here to the right, especially when you have things back here, is going to be just like a total dark spot. So if they were to include another light on this side, another one under the lift gate, and then that way you have a symmetrical, you know, 4-corner light system. It eliminates shadows and illuminates most everywhere. So just a kind of a missed opportunity there, I think. Now it does have the backlit buttons for lowering the power liftgate. The inside of the back door does have a puddle light. So it's underneath the door and it shines on the ground right here. It illuminates, and so you can see what you're stepping in basically. And so that's really good. Now there's no approach lights. So as you approach the vehicle on the outside, there's no lights, but as far as like getting out and seeing what you're stepping in, that's nice. Now there is a pocket light in here. It's kind of dim, but there is a little light right in here. And then I have a little finder's light for the power window switch. But that's it, not a lot of lights there on the door. So the third row seat, we have this light here, and it illuminates the seats fairly well, considering it's a black interior, but it's just, there's a single light, but it's so bright, it's able to fill in that area pretty good. There's also a USB charge port over there that's illuminated, and there's one on this side as well. Second row seats, you can see once again we have fairly bright light coming from the top. We have one on each side of the sunroof, and illuminates this area fairly decent, even including the floorboard and the center area here. And you have the backlit buttons and controls here on the back of the console, USB ports, climate control, all that stuff. But yeah, this is halfway decent as far as the interior lights here. Front door also has the puddle light shining on the ground, a little pocket light, so right in here is a light, and then you have the backlit buttons here on the door, and then the controls here, and that's about it. No accent lights or any fancy lights or anything like that. You can see this side mirror is auto dimming because it's only on the driver's side. It has auto dimming side mirrors and rear view mirrors. We looked at that in the main overview video, but so here's the front lights, and they are coming from the center there, and they mostly focus there on the center, a little bit there on the sides, but you know, not too bad. There is a little bit of floorboard illumination as well. Now I have the interior lights on with the door open, so you can see what it looks like here. Now when I shut the door, interior lights fade out, and I'm left with the remainder, which is mostly backlit lights here. You see the little light there on the door. There's a little bit of light there in the floorboard. You can see that hopefully. Not super bright, but it does give you some light there, which is nice. Backlit buttons here on the steering wheel. The stalks are dark, so they don't have any lights on them. To the left of the steering column is these backlit buttons. Now the gauges are pretty nice because they're a screen, so you can adjust the brightness here, this button here. So it's like full blast, basically, and then the first press goes to a little bit too dim. So I'm gonna go ahead and adjust the brightness here all the way down so you can see what it looks like. So that's as far down as it goes, and then bring it up, and you see it's other things besides just the screen. It adjusts these backlit buttons and all that stuff as well. But you notice it's like it goes from like that. The next press is like full blast in your face. So there's a little bit of subtlety missing there, I think. You know, you think you should be able to get a slightly more brighter without slightly more bright without it just blasting you. Basically it goes to like daylight mode. So there's the screen here, and see what it looks like there. Let's go ahead and put on the camera. You see what that looks like. I actually had my camera set too bright, so you can't really see it that good. Let me bring it down. It looks pretty good. You can see around pretty good. Put a forward view there. So even in dark spaces, I haven't had a problem with the camera system. And then these buttons bring the brightness back up, because it's a dark interior, and then there's not a lot of super bright lights in here, so I have to pull the camera brightness up. So there's a place to put your cell phone here, which is completely dark. The cup holders here are dark. It does have a little light that shines from up here that helps illuminate this area here, which helps out a lot when it's super dark. Right now it's a little bit of light shining in the windows, but that kind of helps out with this situation because there's so many dark areas. This compartment here in the middle, it does have some lights in it. It's pretty cool. And backlit USB ports there. Glove compartment does have a light in it. Not super bright, but it does have one. And we have these reading lights here, which illuminate basically in your lap. So there's that one, and then you have the one on the right, which illuminates, you know, in the lap area on the passenger side. And then you can turn on all the interior lights, turn them all off, or you can have them turn on with the door like I showed you, or you can turn that feature off. So if you don't want them to turn on with the door, you can turn that off here. All right, so the visors have a light that turns on when you open up the mirror. Now if you leave the mirror open and close it, it'll automatically turn off. So there's the low beams, there's the high beams against some bushes. You can see a big difference there, even though we have just one light on each side, one projector anyway. So with only 2 points of light, we'll see how they overlap. Hopefully it won't be too patchy on the road. Now I'm noticing, which is pretty typical, a dark shadow on the oncoming lane, so it helps avoid blinding oncoming drivers when you're going up and down slight hills like this on the low beams. So you can see right there, a little bit lower on the oncoming lane. So that way when we're going uphill like this, it doesn't bring that light level too high. At least that's what the intention is, basically. So oncoming drivers spare their eyes a little bit. Okay, so here's a dark road. There's the low beams and there's the high beams. And the high beams are actually pretty impressive, since we only have 2 projectors, but yet it seems like there's an additional light that's shining through these projectors, because it is a pretty good amount of additional light that pops up there. And I can see the trees, I can see the side of the road. There's a little tiny bit of patchiness on the road, but as far as my visibility, I would say these are adequate headlights. You know, I don't think there's and it's not super impressive, but it's definitely, it actually is kind of impressive considering you only have 2 projectors. So in that sense, it's actually pretty good. I do like these headlights.